Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the flag of Michigan and to the state for which it stands, two beautiful provinces, united by a bridge of steel, where equal opportunity and justice to all is our ideal.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers.
Here.
Spolman. Wolfile.
Here.
Keith.
Here.
Mayor Folkins.
Here. I understand the agenda's been amended.
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, I am requesting this evening that the agenda be amended to include the following. One, a banner request from the Sons of the American Legion as item B under communications. And second, a grant addendum from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation as item F under the City Manager's report.
That's correct.
Oh, this is right. Okay, good. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Support.
Sandy, could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Spolman. Wolfile.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries. At this time, we'll open the floor for our first public comment. If you do come forward, we do ask you to state your name, and then if you would write your name and your address on the paper, that would be very helpful, and limit your time to 3 minutes. Seeing no one, we'll close public comment and move to, yes.
I didn't know if am I on the agenda or for the Child Protection Council?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're okay. Okay. So that moves us to the consent agenda, and this evening we have the minutes from the regular meeting that was held on January 19th, along with the minutes of the closed meeting.
Mayor, members of the City Council, if I may request the minutes from the regular meeting. There is a request from Council Members Spolman. She had advised of a comment she made under good of the order. Asked us to clarify that the Lake Mitchell Improvement Board has not yet approved the FOIA policy, but rather has approved having an attorney put together that FOIA policy itself for them to review. So it would be appropriate, Mike, would it be appropriate to pull that out of consent or just simply to approve it as amended?
Probably pull it out.
So we would need a motion to pull it out of consent. If there's any discussion, we could have that at that point in time. Otherwise, then to approve it as amended.
Okay, I'll make the motion to pull that item out of the consent and move on with it.
Yep.
Support.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Wolfile.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Spolman. Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries. Okay, so at this point, we are then just approving the minutes from the closed session? Or are we going to talk about what we just pulled
Yeah, at this
out?
point, if you wouldn't mind just closing the issue of what we just pulled out.
Okay.
The recommendation provided to me from Councilmember Spolman was to just clarify her statement at the end of the minutes under good of the order. She made reference to the Lake Management Improvement Board bringing an attorney on to put together a FOIA policy. The minutes actually state that a FOIA policy has been approved, and that's not
Right,
not
okay.
the case. And so we have the clarifying language, which simply amends that section to state how the Lake Management Improvement Board has approved bringing an attorney on to work on the FOIA policy.
Okay.
So, and if that's acceptable, it would be appropriate for a motion to accept that as amended.
Could we have that motion?
I will make a motion to accept the minutes from the regular meeting with the correction.
Support?
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Keith.
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Spolman. Wolfile.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
And then, Mayor and members of the City Council, unless there's any need to discuss the closed session minutes, which would be done in a closed session, the appropriate action at this point would be to consider a motion approving the consent agenda.
I'll also make that motion to approve the minutes from the closed session.
I'll support it.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers.
Yes.
Spelman. Wolfile.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
Oh, sure.
Shoot that one right there.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yellow envelope.
I'll be the passer of you, Marcus.
Okay. Then that moves us to the community spotlight for this evening, which is the Cadillac Wexford Transit Authority update.
Is this on? Do I need to talk into it? Okay.
Yep.
I'm really short, so let's get it down to my level. There we go.
Okay.
I used to do that all the time.
Well, thank you all for letting me come tonight. Again, my name's Carrie Thompson, and I am the director of Cadillac Wexford Transit. And I have been with Cadillac Wexford Transit about a year now, just a little over. And I was here about this time last year and talked to you all about some of the changes we were going to make. And we were just getting started with those. And so I thought with the millage coming up in August, and you're going to start to hear conversations with the county about approving that millage, that I owed it to all of you to come back and tell you how we were doing on all of our initiatives. So that's what we're going to do. Oh, I need my clicker, don't I? Sorry. Got ahead of myself.
This is worn off, but that's to go forward.
That's to go forward. All right. Look at that.
Bam.
Okay, so last year when I came to talk to you, we talked about reinventing public transit in Wexford County and what that would look like, okay? Because it seemed like the community wasn't real happy with the transit, and it had kind of been bumped around in the press over the last year. And so my board and I talked a lot about what that would look like. And so we talked about creating a vision for public transit, creating a financial turnaround and what that would look like, improving technology, and then what we're going to do looking ahead into the future. So when we talk about vision for a new direction, these are the things that we have worked on so far. So we wanted to establish a culture of accountability and transparency. That's big for the community. They didn't feel like they were really getting that from the last leadership. And so the first thing we did was we created departmental budgets. And we share those not only with our board, but our management team uses it, and we also use it in the public. So a lot of people have actually seen it. We don't just keep it in-house, right? Because that's the whole point of being transparent, is sharing it with the community. We have increased our community interactions, so I'm out speaking a lot to different groups, and we are also at a stakeholder at some of the big meetings in town, which is an improvement from where we were before. We held community focus groups this year. We did them with our staff, to hear from them what they thought we needed for changes, and then we also went out in the community and did business leaders and passengers and had a pretty good turnout for those. So we asked them what we do really well and where we need improvement, and we had very honest, candid conversations, which was very refreshing. They had absolutely no problem telling us where we need to improve, which was great. So we will be looking at that over the next year and improving on those things. Let's see here. We started to release information like I talked about, and we are encouraging open door policies. We're also working on empowering our employees, and so we have been taking on more of a committee-based problem-solving approach. My experts are really out in the field every day. They're the drivers and the dispatchers, and I want to make sure that their voice is heard. And so we've been doing that approach to problem-solving, and it's been very successful. You'll see in a second when we get to financials that it's made a big difference. And then we've also worked on some of our collaborative partnerships. So like the YMCA tutoring, our ridership is up 6,000 rides from last year in 1 year. So that's a pretty heavy jump. Most transits are down this last year. Actually had a transit organization call me and say, what do you think's going on there? Because everybody else is down. And I really think it's just getting out in the community with that interaction and letting people know it's a viable option. And again, increasing some of those partnerships. And then obviously providing services that fit residents' lifestyles. That's a big one, right? So if you don't provide service that means anything to people, they won't ride it. And so you have to make sure we're always looking at that. Okay, so financial turnaround. So a year ago, CWTA wasn't in horrible shape, but a stiff wind really could have blown them over financially. What was happening is at the end of the year, so for them, October, November, December, January were really tight months to the point where they were having to hold things like payables in order to make payroll. And that had to stop immediately. So we started, when I got there last year, working on a plan to build up some reserves to be able to make that time of year easier. The reason it gets tight for us is because of the way millage money flows in and the way federal and state dollars flow in. And so we're always going to be tight that time of year unless we have a reserve. So we started that. To start that turnaround, I talked a lot about employing some private sector management tools in the public sector. Now, we'll always be public sector, but you can do a lot of things that make a difference. So, like I talked about the departmental budgets, you cannot manage what you can't measure. And I had to explain this over and over to my management team, and they really did a great job of grabbing a hold of this and doing things differently. We started to do vendor reviews. And so really simple things like reviewing our fuel bill and our fuel usage. We dropped our fuel cost by $1,100 a month, and that was before the prices dropped. So that's just a difference between vendors. We also reviewed our health insurance contract, and this year we're going to save $23,000 just from some simple changes. It's just being creative, and the employees don't feel it. So we're glad to be able to do that. And you can see the results at the bottom there. So our operating costs last year were we were pretty high. There are others in the state that are a little higher, but we were operating at $69 an hour before last year. And then in fiscal year 15, we dropped that to $54. So it's a $15 an hour decrease, and that's everything included. That's the paper we use, that's a fully burden rate. So that's a really big swing in the other direction. Our cost per mile is down to about $3.08 a mile. That's getting pretty competitive with private sector, which we're pretty proud of. And our cash reserves went from literally 0 days, that probably should say negative, but I use 0. So 0 days to we're at just over 30 now for operating reserve. And we also eliminated a lot of frills, like I sold that truck that was there that was supposed to be used, that was supposed to be for me, and I said, I don't need that. So we got rid of that. So that's fuel savings there. And we did all this while increasing our ridership by 6,000 rides in a year. So that's a pretty good financial turnaround. And I have to tell you, we are going to be putting in some technology this next year, actually March 7th it goes in. So we are really just getting started. We'll be able to benchmark and have good data and make good business decisions based on metrics rather than guessing. So we're excited to be able to do that. A few other technological improvements that we've made, and it's always interesting to me because in public sector people don't always think about the technology. There's absolutely no reason we shouldn't be using it in the same way private sector does to cut costs. So we did some things like automating our employee scheduling so we didn't have to call around for 3 hours to get somebody to fill a shift. Now it comes up on their phone and alerts them if there's an open shift, and they can accept it right from their phone or their computers at home. So we cut a lot of staff time that way. We have a new website. I have an operations manager who is also very good at IT, and he built us a website for $198 for the whole year. It is really, it's a really modern website. We'll be able to do online booking when the new system gets here through that website. So we're really excited about that. If any of you have a chance, you should get on and take a look at it. The software that's coming in will allow us to do things like call people 10 minutes before their ride arrives. And so seniors and people with disabilities don't have to wait out in the cold. Actually, no one does, but those are the groups that are typically a little more frail. So they'll be able to do that. We'll be able to give people actual times that we're going to pick them up. Right now, it's kind of a guess, and we're there within about an hour of that time. That's absolutely ridiculous. And so we are going to be working on giving people times that they can actually depend on. That was something that we heard a lot in the focus group, so we're happy to be able to do that. And we'll also be able to cut the fat out of the system and make it more efficient based on automated routing. Right now, we have dispatchers that are listening to the radio, they're taking calls, they're using a very, very manual system, and so they're routing the best to their ability. And we have very, very talented dispatchers, but we're just not giving, we in the past didn't give them the tools to really do their job well. This will allow them to be able to see the entire picture. They'll be able to see the buses up on a big screen and see when they're running late, to be able to move people around so people can still get to their appointments on time if they need to. So it's a huge advancement forward. And my last slide, and you guys can ask me questions if you have any, but we're going to launch our new dispatch software March 7th, so we're excited about that. We are then going to use those efficiencies to start checking off all the things people asked us for in the focus groups. We heard things like Friday night, they want service on Friday night and Saturday. And I really did not have any idea that the people in Wexford County like to go out so much on Friday and Saturday. I heard about it at every single focus groups. So they like to have a good time here. But we did hear about that. We heard a little bit about fixed routes. And then we also heard about more service to the out-county areas, so the more rural areas. So those are things that we're going to start to check off our list after our system comes in, and we'll be able to realize some of those efficiencies. So the idea is to put more service on the road with the same cost. So that's what we're looking at. Any questions? Yeah, it's been a good year.
Good job.
Thank you.
Looks like you did a lot of work.
Yeah, thank you. All right, anything else?
I just was going to mention, be sure
Yeah.
to get the word out on the millage.
Yes. So we're looking at an August election, and the county right now, well, I did a similar presentation for them, and then I'll be going to their finance committee to look at the language, and I think it's about a week and a half.
Unless it changes, I think mum's the word, effective June 1 then, or
June.
give or take a couple of days.
June 1 for what?
The state of Michigan has essentially a gag order law.
Oh, yes, the 60-day, yeah, I forget the number of that new regulation, but yes, I know what you're referring to. Yes, but we will make sure we do that. So, all right.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Very much.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's impressive.
Okay, we have a couple of appointments this evening.
Yes, this evening it's being recommended to approve the reappointment of Bob Peterson to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term to expire on January 21st, 2019.
Okay, I'll make a motion to reappoint Bob Peterson to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term that expires on the 21st of January 2019.
All supported?
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Spolman, Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
It's also being recommended to approve the reappointment of John Potvin Jr. to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term to expire on January 21st, 2019.
Okay, I'll make the motion to do that one, to approve the reappointment of John Potvin Jr. to the Planning Commission for a 3-year term to expire on January 21st, 2019.
And it should be noted that he's been on that commission since 1998.
Wow.
So, and does a great job there, so good job, John. Thank you.
I'll support it.
Okay, Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers,
Yes.
Spolman, Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, and this evening's communications.
Yes, Joe Verlin of Gaybridge and Company will be presenting the fiscal year 2015 audit results.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi.
I would like to thank the City Council and management for allowing our firm to serve as your auditors. It very much is a pleasure working with the city staff. We work with all of the departments in one form or another, and we spend the bulk of our time working directly with Carol and with Owen, and everybody's very professional, very timely in providing the information to us that we request throughout the process. Normally shows up to us ahead of time electronically, and it's very easy for us to go through. I shouldn't say easy, but we're able to go through and verify that the numbers that are provided to us within those financial statements, using the schedules that are provided to us by the city. And for that reason, we issued what is referred to as an unmodified opinion. It doesn't sound very flattering. You can find that on page 1 of the audit report. I'm sorry, page 5 of the audit report. But it is the highest level of opinion that we can render on financial statements. And what that means is that these financial statements that, as of June 30, 2015, are fairly stated in all material respects. They accurately present the financial condition of the city as of June 30, 2015. It should always be the city's goal to receive that unmodified opinion, but it certainly does mean something to achieve it. Going through the rest of the audit report, it's roughly 150 pages, so I won't go through every page. I'll just hit on some of the highlights. The very first section, I think, is a useful section to take a look at, especially for residents of the city. The information is, it's all transparent. It's on the city website. It's also on Treasury's website. But the introductory section, which is about 5 pages in, it's Roman numeral 1 of the audit report. Just gives a good narrative of the city. Talks about the economy, the future outlook, upcoming challenges that the city is working through. It's very well written, and it's one thing that's unique to a municipality that prepares a comprehensive annual financial report. So Cadillac goes above and beyond. They don't simply prepare a basic set of financial statement, which is about I think there's 75 municipalities in the state of Michigan that submit a CAFR to the GFOA, and there's roughly 3,000 municipalities in the state. So that in and of itself represents the quality of the financial statement reporting that city expects of itself. So it's very good information, and it gives a good snapshot of what the city is taking a look at, and I certainly recommend reviewing those 5 pages within the introductory section. It's good information. The next section of the audit report that I typically take readers through is management's discussion and analysis. And I walk readers through that section because it's the one area in the audit report where you get some comparative financial data. So you can see how things looked at June 30, 2014 compared to June 30, 2015. You get some of the financial highlights. There's a bullet point section showing some of the accomplishments and key ratios that the city had at June 30, 2015. And there's additional narrative that explains some of the significant changes in those financial statements. So when you look at the 2 years side by side, there are some significant changes. There always will be, and management does a very good job of identifying those changes and explaining it in understandable terms to the readers, regardless of what their accounting background might be. So the management's discussion and analysis starts on page 7. Some of the financial highlights, beginning with page 7, show that the city has $32,620,130 of net position as of June 30, 2015. So if the city theoretically were to take all of its assets and liquidate them and sell them, there'd be $32 million left over. That doesn't mean that the city has $32 million of cash available for spending. It's not, a lot of it's tied up in infrastructure, streets, buildings, things of that nature. So the next bullet point down gives a better representation of the liquid assets, which is more like $3.2 million. So those are the unrestricted net. That is the unrestricted net position of the city as of June 30, 2015, and represents resources that are more available to cover, the water and sewer costs, operating costs of the general fund, things of that nature. The third bullet point down shows that all of the funds of the city, so the $32 million is across all of the city's funds on the accrual basis of accounting. If we look at just the funds, which is a very short-term focus, there's $5.7 million of fund balance as of June 30, 2015. And this is just the governmental fund, so we're excluding the water and sewer fund, the building fund. All of that is left out of it. This is simply a short-term focus of primarily the general fund and the other special revenue funds as well. That's about a $428,000 decrease in fund balance for the year, which ordinarily, when you see a decrease in fund balance, that is a negative sign. But the city had $1.2 million of capital outlay during June 30, 2015. There were some park improvements made during the course of the year, and as well as street improvements. So the sum of all that activity was $1.2 million. And when we look at the modified accrual basis of accounting, it's basically cash basis. So how much was paid, it's getting expensed, despite the fact that that $1.2 million is representing infrastructure, things that are going to benefit the city over the next 5, 10, 20 years. It's all getting expensed on these financial statements because it's the modified accrual or cash basis of accounting. So resources in versus resources out, there was about a $428,000 decrease during the course of the year. A couple more bullet points down, you can see that the general fund has $1,773,857 of unrestricted fund balance. Unrestricted fund balance is the sum of committed, assigned, and unassigned. And that's about 27% of the general fund's annualized expenditures. And the Government Finance Officers Association recommends that number be north of 17%. So we talked, the transit talked about building its cash reserves to the point where it has 30 days of reserves to cover cash gaps throughout the course of the year. The city's at 27%, which is about 90 days worth of cash reserves. Not too much, not too little, right about where the city should be, roughly 10 points better than what the GFOA recommends. So a very healthy position to be in. It allows the city to be able to weather storms that come up. It allows the seasonality of cash flows as millages come in a couple times during the course of the year. So stable financial condition. And the very last bullet point shows that the city paid down bonded debt by $735,000, principal reductions during the course of the year, which again is healthy. It's right on track with the debt service schedule that the city has for all of its outstanding debt obligations. Moving through the management discussion and analysis, on page 11, we get our first look at a comparative statement of net position. This is on the accrual basis of accounting. So these statements in the MD&A section take a long-term focus. So they're looking at long-term assets, long-term liabilities, and give a 2-year trend analysis to show how things are improving over time. So we mentioned that there was a decrease in net position during the year. There was $3.2 million approximately as of June 30, 2014 of unrestricted net position. That number decreased to $3,181,000 approximately. It's getting rounded to the nearest thousand. So a slight decrease in unrestricted, but at the same time very stable. And again, largely the decrease is related to one-time non-recurring projects. Another thing that page 11 points out is the fact that June 30, 2015, last year at this time we talked about GASB 68. The Governmental Accounting Standards Board was issuing statement number 68. It was new pension reporting standards that went into effect for the year ended June 30, 2015, and it was going to have a significant impact on the financial statements. Despite the fact that the city had to pick up $3.5 million of net pension liability in its governmental activities and another $500,000 in its business type activities, the city still has a positive unrestricted net position. So all of the years of prudent financial management has allowed the city to be able to withstand that significant liability that was picked up on its statement of net position. So it's a long-term liability. The city has roughly 24 more years to get that paid into MERS and into the Police and Fire Pension Trust Fund. So there's still time. It won't have any impact on the expenditures or the expenses of the city. It doesn't have any impact on the funds. It's only on the full accrual, the statement of net position, and it's not going to. There's no requirement to accelerate the payment. So the city doesn't have to cough up $4 million in the next 12 months to get it current. They're still on the same schedule, paying it in over time, over the next 24 years to get it fully funded. So nothing really changes. The economic reality is that this liability has existed for decades now. It's just that the Governmental Accounting Standard Board wanted this number to get picked up on the financial statements. I'd estimate that 1 out of every 4 of my municipalities are showing deficit net positions because of this new guidance, but that's not the case for Cadillac. So despite that, everything is financially stable for Cadillac as of June 30, 2015. Next on page 12, you see a comparative statement of activities. This shows revenues and expenses of the city year over year, gives a 2-year comparison, and you can see a lot of consistency between the year ended June 30, 2014 compared to the year ended June 30, 2015. One significant change was that there was some capital grants that came in during the course of June 30, 2015, about $520,000 of additional revenues. Other than that, revenues were very stable and showed a slight increase during the course of the year, which is good. A lot of municipalities are starting to show some signs of recovery. State revenue sharing is getting bumped up a little bit. We're seeing some property taxes stabilizing statewide, and that too is reflected in the financial statements of the city. The next section on the audit report is the actual financial statements themselves. On page 21 is the governmental, the city's balance sheet, and this is on again the modified accrual basis of accounting. So we can see the assets and liabilities on the short-term focus of accounting, or the cash basis of accounting for the city. And again, you can see how the general fund is doing. You can also see how all of the other governmental funds are doing as a whole. They're considered non-major funds. They get aggregated into one column. But the key thing is that not only does the general fund have a healthy fund balance, but all of the funds as a whole have positive fund balances, which is a good sign. Again, many of my municipalities have a couple of funds with deficit fund balances, but that's not the case at Cadillac, and again is a very good sign of prudent financial management. As we continue to take a look through the basic financial statements on page 26, we get a look at the business type activities of the city. So primarily the water and sewer fund, that is the one major fund, and then the other enterprise funds get lumped into one category, a non-major category. The water and sewer fund had a decrease in that position. Water and sewer fund are treated differently than the other governmental funds. They get treated as a business would, because the idea is to charge services and break even over time. So this is on the long-term focus of accounting, or the accrual basis method of accounting. And you can see that the water and sewer fund had a decrease of about $112,408 for the year ended June 30, 2015. Primarily because of depreciation. Depreciation was $930,587. So the city invests in infrastructure to be able to provide water and sewer services to its residents, and then that system gets amortized over the course of 20, 30, 40 years, and that's what that depreciation number represents. So all in all, despite the fact that there was a decrease in that position, the cash actually, for the most part, broke even in the water and sewer fund. And the cash from the day-to-day operating activities was actually healthy. If you flip to page 27, you can see that cash flows from the operating activities of the water and sewer fund had an increase of $954,986, which was enough to be able to cover its debt service obligations, as well as some reinvestment in infrastructure during the course of the year. Altogether, there was about a $42,000 decrease in the water and sewer fund. And then when we look at all the other funds, there was an $18,577 increase in cash for the year, leading to a total decrease of about $23,000 amongst all of the business type funds of Cadillac. The last areas that I wanted to focus on, in addition to implementing GASB 68, the new pension reporting standards, not only did we have to include a new liabilities on the financial statement, it also increased the amount of transparency that we needed to include in the footnote disclosures of the city. So we included additional information on the MERS pension plan, as well as the police and fire pension plan. A couple of noteworthy footnotes are the sensitivity analysis for each of those pension plans. And if the city The city has an assumption that it's going to earn 8.25% on the assets that it's invested into its MERS pension plan. And if that is the case, there's going to be a need to pay in $994,228 over the course of the next 24 years to fully fund its MERS plan. That's very reasonable compared to what the MERS historical rate has been, 8.25%. If the market does 1 point better than expected and earns 9.25% on its existing assets, the city is actually overfunded by $209,000. So it just gives a general idea as to what would happen if the market actually does 1% better than expected. The city would actually be able to decrease its future obligation into the plan. If the market does 1 point less than expected and earns an average rate of return over the next 24 years of 7.25%, the $994,000 obligation increases to about $2.4 million. So it would cost the city about $1.5 million of additional funds in order to be able to fully fund its pension obligation if the market does 1% less than expected in the next 24 years. Next, on page 65, we get into the police and fire section. Again, we have to do the exact same analysis for the police and fire pension plan as well. If the city currently assumes a 7.44% rate of return on its police and fire assets, and if that is the case, it'd be about $2.9 million that needs to be paid in over the course of the next 24 years to get that plan fully funded. If the market actually earns 8.44% or 1% more than expected, that number decreases from $2.9 million to about $1.7 million. So it'd be about $1.2 million less that needs to be funded over the next 24 years. If the market does 1 point less than expected and only earns 6.44%, that number increases to $4.3 million. So roughly about $1.5 million of an additional burden to the city over the actuarial term. Just a couple more pages I wanted to hit on. If you go to page 75, so not only did we have to increase the amount of liabilities that we include on the basic financial statements, we had to increase our footnote disclosures, and then lastly, we had to increase our required supplemental information for the readers. Page 75 is the first page of additional required supplemental information for the pension plans. The police and fire pension plan. We have 2 years worth of data because that one actually went into effect as of June 30, 2014. As of June 30, 2015, the net pension liability is about $2.9 million. And the city has funded about 77% of its total net pension liability for the police and fire fund. So the total pension liability is about $12.7 million. The city has set aside about $9.9 million to cover it, leaving about $2.9 million left over that it needs to get paid in. So it's roughly 77% funded. Ideally, we like to see that number around 80%. So the city is right in line with making sure that the funding is where it should be. And in fact, historically, the city pays in more than what it needs to. So it will accelerate that and have it paid in advance of what the actuaries require that number to be fully paid. The total employee payroll in the police and fire pension plan is about $1.6 million. So when we look at the total liability of $2.9 million compared to the annualized payroll of about $1.6 million, it's about 181%. So in other words, about 1.8 years worth of payroll expense needs to be paid in over the next 24 years to get that police and fire plan fully funded. Sounds like a lot, but I have a lot of municipalities that actually have 8 years worth of unfunded pension liability. So in other words, if they look at their payroll costs for the next 8 years, that's the amount that they need to get paid in to fully fund their pension plan. So 181% actually is reasonable compared to many of our municipalities. Last page that I wanted to point out is the very next page. On 76, we get the very same analysis for the MERS plan. So the non-police and fire employees, the city has a total pension liability of about $11 million. It has paid in about $10 million, leaving about roughly $1 million that still needs to be paid into the MERS pension plan over the course of the next 24 years. In other words, the city is about 91% funded. So of the $10 million, $9 million is funded. It's at 90% coverage. The benchmark is to be north of 80%, so that the city's MERS plan is in very stable condition. The annualized payroll for all of the MERS employees is about $2.7 million. So that ratio of the unfunded liability compared to the total annualized payroll is only 37% for the MERS plan. So very healthy when compared to other municipalities for the MERS plan. The last thing that I'll mention is that as auditors, we are not required to, we're not engaged to take a look at and report or provide an opinion on internal control. But if we see anything that comes to our attention during the course of our audit, if a control either is not effectively designed, or if it is well designed but not getting carried out on a day-to-day basis, we are required to put that into writing and to bring that to the attention of those charged with governance, being management and the council. I'm happy to say that we did not come across any such findings, that the city has has internal control that is very suitably designed. It's getting carried out effectively on a day-to-day basis. I don't believe we had any significant adjusting journal entries, at least none, maybe a couple of minor adjustments, but certainly very immaterial, which tells us as auditors that the information that is being provided to City Council during interim reporting periods is accurate, it's timely, and it certainly is. It's rare. Most of our clients at least have some level of findings that we bring to the attention of governance. But I'm happy to say that the city has a clean report on internal control. That's everything I wanted to cover, and I'm happy to answer any further questions that council or management might have.
Just a quick heads up, in case you don't remember, I did forward this electronically. I'm sorry if we didn't have a hard copy for you this evening, but
Save the paper.
You should have it in your inboxes.
We do.
And it's also online as well for the public, so.
Great. Well, thank you for being here with us this evening, and a big thank you to Owen and his staff, because being able to sit here and hear a report like that makes us extremely proud.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much
Thank you.
for your time.
Yep, good job.
Okay, the next thing on our agenda is a request from the Sons of the American Legion.
Yes, it's being requested to display a banner at the Chestnut Street boat launch from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on February 13th, 2016 for the 25th annual Golf on Ice event for Special Olympics. This request was before us last year as well.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from the Sons of the American Legion to display a banner at the Chestnut Street boat launch from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on February 13th, 2016 for the 25th annual Golf on Ice for Special Olympics.
I'll support it.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Keith?
Yes.
Shippers?
Yes.
Bowman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Mayor Folkins?
Yes. Motion carries. Hopefully we'll have ice.
Let's get cold again tomorrow, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The city manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. This first item is a request from the Child Protection Council regarding the pinwheels for prevention. I will give a brief summary, and then we do have with us today the Prevention Coordinator, Karen Staub, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, in case Karen may want to add anything or help clarify anything. But in accordance with the communication we received and that is in your packet, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month and the Month of the Young Child. The Wexford-Missaukee Child Protection Council would like to have their Pinwheels for Prevention event, which is essentially a procession as they walk from Toy Town down Mitchell Street on Cadillac, in Cadillac on Tuesday, April 5th, at 9 a.m. Additionally, they would also like to plant pinwheels in the planter boxes at the corners of Harris and Mitchell Streets. The request was modified from their original request by staff after it came in due to the number of pinwheels that was requested. Mike Coy could perhaps get into greater detail But the concern was about, we've had similar requests in the past that did result in several complaints getting called in. My understanding is that the number of things planted in the ground have become a distraction for drivers, and so the response back from staff to the organizer was to reduce it from 25 per box to 15 pinwheels per box. The staff communication goes on to actually state 4 other conditions. One, which is in line with the request, that the program shall run from April 5th, 2016 through April 30th, 2016. Participants would need to obviously obey all general laws of the pedestrian traffic control devices at intersections. The displays would need to be maintained throughout the period of display. And here's where there's a variance with the request, whereas we're stating that only up to 15 pinwheels per planter box and 1 yard sign is permitted, and that the pinwheels need to be removed no later than May 1st, 2016. Mike, is there any additional information that I...
That's it. That's it. So, and Marcus mentioned, some negative comments, and it really had more to do with quantity, not just that, but with the yard signs that Oasis put in the city park last year. There was no limit on the number, and then what happened was later in the year we had one group that wanted to put signs all the way the entire length of the McCulloch walkway, and we politely said, no, let's pick a few spots and put them there. So the negative comments really had to do with too much, not so much any negativity about, what
about
it represented.
The event.
Not what it represented, just too much.
Well, I would just want to make sure that if we're going to put those kinds of limitations in place, that we're doing that across the board for everyone. And it sounds like...
I would love to see that.
Okay.
Mayor, members of the council, this would be an opportunity not just for council to discuss, but also to invite the program coordinator. Should she wish to address the board at all?
We would love to have her come up and talk to us.
Talk about the event and whatnot.
Yes.
You did a great job explaining what we were asking, and thank you. As he said, the event takes place during the month of April for Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month and Month of the Young Child. This actually is a national campaign from Prevent Child Abuse America, and comes down to all of the states. Locally, for the state of Michigan, it's the Children's Trust Fund, which all the local councils fall under for the state. And what they're really trying to do is create a greater presence to try to raise awareness of why preventing child abuse and neglect is so important. And where I understand the limitation of, the number of signs and the number of pinwheels, I guess I would like maybe a little bit of input and guidance as to, with the limitations, how we can work within the limitations to also increase awareness. Because they're kind of going against, fewer pinwheels means less of a presence. So I didn't know if there was maybe a suggestion for an alternate location, or last year we kind of picked that location because we figured it was good right downtown. It kind of had 4 corners. We had a lot of positive feedback from it, that seeing them out and great job and all that sort of stuff. And so I didn't know what might be some...
I know that in years past, I recall the city council doing a proclamation regarding was it the Week of the Young Child? Is it something?
That's the Month of the Young Child. Yeah.
Which I know would certainly bring some more awareness. Obviously, it's not the physical awareness that you're referring to.
Yep.
But I would suspect that the council would be willing to consider such a proclamation.
Sure.
That'll help get
be
some
happy to
press
do
out about the event and about the month and the national recognition that
Okay.
that could help.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I can definitely get you some stuff, because like I said, it comes down to the state from the national level. So I can get you both state and national information and maybe put something together with you.
And if we could plan on doing that for our meeting in March, that
Sure.
would work out great, because the timing would be right before April starts.
Mm-hmm.
We would obviously have the newspaper here, and there would be there'd be some good positive press, I think.
Bring a pinwheel.
Okay, yeah, that would be
I
wonderful.
have a question. It may be I don't know. If it's a traffic distraction, what's the difference between 15 or 25 per flower box? I mean, if pinwheels are spinning, how would it be less of a distraction to have 15 than 25? I don't, so I remember seeing that last year, and it does catch your attention. But I think that's the goal, not to distract drivers so much, but what's the thinking on that, Mike? I trust you on this, but I'm just curious.
The fact that we got some negative comments, and for example, I think last year they had 2 yard signs in each planter box. And, you know, that's a big thing. The sign ordinance, section 46, it's 15 pages long for your pleasure reading, but
Right.
you know, very, very early in it, it very clearly states that no signage should be a distraction to motorists.
Okay.
So I don't know. You know, that's an interesting question, but I do know that, you know, the yard signs that Oasis put in City Park last year,
Right.
you know, yard signs, the wind catches very differently than a pinwheel. And, you know, some of them were bent from the wind, and, you know, there was, you know, like I said, we just got comments last year, and, you know, nobody has a problem with the content. It's just, why do you allow so many? And, you know, other temporary yard or temporary sign approvals that this group gives, so many of them, let's face it, they put the signs up in the morning, farmer's market, for example. They put them up in the morning, they take them down at the end of the day. So, you know, I don't have a good answer other than...
Is it the signage or the pinwheels?
Well, I'm just
both?
speaking of signs in general.
I could see the signs. I could see having, you know, a bunch of signs right there at that intersection, because, you know, it stops you to read, but the pinwheel, I don't understand.
The signs were a new thing just last year, because a lot of the comments that we were getting was, what are the pinwheels all about?
Right.
And what do they represent? So that's where we came up with the yard signs, to kind of explain a little bit about what the pinwheels are, and which helped tremendously, because it really did raise more of an awareness. But
Sure.
yeah,
I mean,
what he was
it's your
saying.
folks' decision. I mean, I'm fine either way,
How
but
big are these pinwheels that you're?
Oh, the pinwheels are
Little
just
plastic
they're just
ones?
little.
Okay, the picture I couldn't really tell exactly, but
How would someone know, I think that's what T.I. is saying, how would someone know the difference between 15 and 25?
so last year there was.
A motorist, for
I
example.
get the one sign thing,
Well, that's different.
because weren't you encouraging people to take a pinwheel?
Sure, take a
And
pinwheel.
that's, you know, I know that my lovely little grands went down and got a pinwheel. And so, you know,
And I think in this particular instance that, you know, it is controlled because it's in those 4 flower boxes. And so, you know, and maybe with the signs, we just do 1 sign per flower box.
Okay.
To take away part of that distraction, but not take away the educational factor of having a sign there.
Okay.
were you saying 1 sign total? Or one?
No, 1 sign.
1 sign per box?
One in each
That makes sense. I wouldn't put a bunch of signs in the box,
The
but,
signs are significantly.
right,
different than
right, they
Yeah.
are.
And we did, like he said, we had a couple of the signs that bent down, but I was out there, not 7 days, but about 5 days out of the week, and every time as I was driving through, you know, picking up the pinwheels that got bent over by the wind, that's a pretty windy intersection there.
I guess my thoughts
And
would be
replacing.
you know, I think the 1 sign is appropriate, but if we let her have 10 more pinwheels in the box, I don't see a big issue with that.
And again, just for council's edification, the reason why it came back modified from the original request was only because we had received some negative feedback. Short of that, we would likely not have even engaged on the difference in the numbers, so,
Okay.
you know, likely won't make a difference one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well, then, can I, thank you, thanks.
Yes,
Welcome,
thank you.
thank you.
Then I would like, if we could, to just modify the number 4 to, back to the 25 pinwheels per planter and 1 yard sign. I like the 1 yard sign thing, but to boost the number of pinwheels, is that okay?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I know you have really good reasons for what you do.
Count them anyway.
I know.
My man, who's that?
Loudon will, Maggie will.
Remember
They'll be
you're on
Loudon will.
TV, Mike. Remember you're on TV.
So given that alteration, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request from the Child Prevention Council for the Pinwheels for Prevention Program in downtown Cadillac, subject to the 5 conditions amended as noted.
I'd support it, and maybe I'll even go get a pinwheel.
24 in that one.
I'll do 24.
Oh, she'll put it back, though.
Sandy, could we have
That's
a roll
okay.
call?
Oh, okay, that's fine, that's good.
Councilmember Shippers.
Yes.
Coleman. Wolfile.
Yes.
Keith.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries. Good luck with your campaign.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, members of the city council, mayor, members of the city council. This next item is a request to negotiate a software purchase. Owen will at some point, I'm sure, jump in and correct me when I run off the tracks with this thing. But I'm gonna just start by yammering a little bit about the Cadillac report that I tossed out. On Friday, there was a little graphic I pulled of a credit card and posted it and showed how, you know, this item that we're gonna be talking about today is gonna help us get to where we can accept credit card payments, debit card payments, as well as payments online using those forms of payment for city services and for paying taxes as well, correct, Owen?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so, this has been a goal of the city council now for quite a number of years. It's been something that's been talked about. And for a little bit of background, the city back in 2004, as your council packets indicate, essentially brought in New World systems for our financial operations. That includes a whole litany of things while still maintaining BS&A, another software vendor for our tax billing and special assessment tracking and delinquent tax collections. So if you can kind of envision here, the city has 2 separate and distinct pieces of software that it uses to conduct business. The hurdle that we've been trying to leap over in order to get ourselves to the point where we can accept credit cards at the counter, online and whatnot, has been to ensure that it talks to those systems, because both of the services that the city offers and provides and people pay on need to be able to talk with the credit card, or, you know, and vice versa, right? So, in going through some research on this, essentially our finance director has come to the realization that there's a much more cost-effective way out there, likely, than upgrading and putting in new modules for both of these systems and continuing to run 2 separate and distinct software platforms. What we're here asking the city council to do tonight is to authorize the finance director and myself to go out and negotiate with these 2, and then come back with a recommendation. The recommendation may be, in fact, to continue to use 2 separate systems, but the recommendation may also be to come back and to unify it under one software provider that can do everything. That can do not just the tax services, but can also do the general ledger side of things. There's some good information out there that, and Owen, I'm looking to you because I don't want to misspeak here, that leads us to believe there could be a rather fast payback period if we are able to negotiate and work on a sort of consolidation of the systems down to one, but we're not quite sure yet. And what we're asking again to do today is to get the city council to basically agree that it's okay for us to go out and negotiate with these 2 vendors. We would need the city council to waive our bidding on this, because these are the 2 vendors that we would want to work with at the end of the day. If we're not working with both of them, certainly one of them is who we'd want to continue to work with. And then the second action would be to authorize us to start to negotiate that deal. Oh, and I don't know if you want to add some.
Yeah, I just thought I'd add a little bit on why it's just the two. BSNA is the premier tax billing software company in the state. Just for example, I was at a training the other day, and there was maybe 125 or 150 assessors in the room, and they asked, how many of you do not use this program? And not one single hand went up. So most other software companies that work in the state of Michigan don't build out a tax program because of this. So they, unfortunately, when we went out to bid in 2004, they didn't offer of products. So we have worked on two. The goal is to work on one. The goal is beyond just taking credit cards and buying a $300 swipe machine at the front counter. I don't think that's the full scope of the goal. So we wanted to look at both. I guess basically for that reason, we're not interested in at least from an internal perspective, bringing in a whole new set of proposals, because it would still be for just the financials or just from BSNA to do everything. So that's what we're after. As Marcus said, I think there will be an opportunity to do all this and have a pretty accelerated payback. We got to make an investment either way to be able to do this the most effective, most streamlined way possible, and we think this is the right way to go.
Well, I think it's a wonderful idea. We've been wanting to do this for quite a while, so I'll be looking forward to hearing those presentations.
Yep, and I would think that would take, certainly most likely wouldn't be by the next meeting, but probably then that second meeting in March when we come together for next regular meeting, I would think we would have the ability to kind of make a presentation on where we are and which trigger we want to pull.
So we need two motions on this?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make the first motion then to waive competitive bidding for the purchase and maintenance costs related to financial software.
I'll support that.
Sandy, could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Spolman, Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay, that being said, I'll make the second motion. To authorize the city manager and the director of finance to pursue and evaluate proposals from the New World Systems and BSNA software with a subsequent recommendation made to us for approval.
Support.
Sandy, could we have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers.
Yes.
Spolman, Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
I'm really excited this is moving forward.
Yeah, this will be cool.
Nice job.
Thank you. This next item is with respect to carpet replacement at the DEQ facility here in Cadillac. For just a quick piece of background in your communication, it refreshes how back in 2015 the city extended the lease with the facility at 120 West Chapin Street for up to 20 years with the DEQ. As a part of that lease extension, we did agree to the replacement of carpeting within that facility. In negotiating with the city, the DEQ offered the ability for the city to essentially have the carpet replacement done by the DEQ. The DEQ will go and make the capital improvement, which is about $120,000, and then simply reduce their rent payment to us accordingly over the next 24 months that pays for that capital improvement. We believe that this is a great win-win. The DEQ gets to manage the process and gets it done on their own time frame, and the city does not need to be involved in the management of a whole building carpet replacement program. I know Owen is really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's pretty involved. They're not removing any of the desktop or the desk furniture stuff. They actually lift it and take it out and part of the floor upstairs is kind of crumbling a little bit, so they have to place down a substance, and all of that is, they had some pretty rigorous specifications for all that went through their full bidding and contracting process at the state level, so.
But because it's our building, are we going to have somebody there that's understanding
yes,
what's being done to our building?
I'm not going to say I understand it fully, but we're going to be there to make sure that the work is being done and that the product is good. And yeah, Bruce is certainly will come with me to, to make sure that nothing looks awry. But yes, they are, and I think that's even in part of the agreement is they have agreed to keep us apprised of the project and the timing and all of those things. So.
And so shockingly, there's only a 2-page sub-agreement that we have from the state. It's in your packet accordingly regarding this arrangement where they will split up over equal payments over the next 24 months to payment to the city. So.
Good. All right. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement to allow the state to complete the carpet replacement project and to deduct the cost of the project from the rent due to the city in equal amounts over a period of 24 months.
Support.
Hey, Sandy, did you have something you wanted to say? Or?
No, he was going to support.
Oh, okay. Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Keith?
Yes.
Shippers?
Yes.
Bowman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Mayor Folker?
Yes. Motion carries.
Contest.
You can go. You're doing a great job. You're doing great.
Okay.
Keep it moving?
Yes,
Keep it. All right. Our next item for consideration is an extension of lake management consulting services. In May of 2011, the City Council awarded a lake management consultant services contract to Progressive A&E. The original bid documents sought to retain a consultant for the 3 calendar years through 2013, but also contained a provision to extend the contract in 1-year increments through 2016, and before you this evening is that request to extend it through 2016. Todd Keyway, who is our HR generalist, but also our expert in lake management, and I'm not being facetious, is here tonight if there's any questions. I think he's there tonight. There he is. I'm here. Here he is.
So this is basically just extending the contract we already have at the same rate.
And
for one year?
Yeah, for 1 year. Okay. Yep.
And this is treating the lake for invasive species and...
This is for the consultant.
For the consultant.
Services.
Okay.
They then will use, or we will use a sub,
A contractor.
that actually does the treatment.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll make a motion to extend the contract with Progressive AE through calendar year 2016 based on the extension details as presented.
I'll support it.
I'm waiting for you guys to arm wrestle.
No.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers?
Yes.
Bowman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Mayor Folker?
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. This next item is an item that we added at the beginning of tonight's meeting. This is a request with respect to the grant addendum we have just received from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation.
Excuse me, Marcus?
Yes.
You skipped the second lake management.
I did.
Item.
Where did I skip?
Yep.
The applicator
There's two of them
services.
regarding the lake
I
management.
did this again.
Sorry to interrupt.
I'm getting good at skipping things. I'm sorry. Which one did I skip?
E.
E. Sorry.
Eek.
The red ink. I saw the red ink.
And this goes hand in hand with the lake.
Yes. Todd, would you like to handle this one? Because I skipped it.
Let's just skip it.
No.
Yeah, we're just asking for an extension for the actual chemical applicator, the service Professional Lake Management out of Alto, Michigan. They've, in their bid package, they could continue with services as long as they do not surpass the 2% increase per year, starting back in 2012. And I put on there for, they have the up to the 2%, like I just said. Last year's spend for their contract was $44,340. And back in 2012, those are the illustrated bids from the two services that we received bids from. And at this point, we're looking to extend that. The hard part is that each and every year the acreage can change. So there's really no accurate way to forecast what the spend will be. That's why I'm asking for it not to exceed $80,000, which we did have a high water mark back in the mid, I think it was 2008 or 7 that we got up to into the 80s. So I just want to make sure that if we have really bad weather conditions that allow for this growth of this weed, that we can still control it and not limit ourselves to say 50,000, because we really need to stay on top of this.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Well, I think that 80,000 is a good mark. If historically it was 89, then it still puts us up there in a safe place.
Okay. I'll go ahead and make the motion to extend the contract with PLM for the chemical treatment of Lake Cadillac through this calendar year of 2016 and not to exceed $80,000.
I'll support it.
Good with it, Tia?
Yep.
Okay. Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Spolman, Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers,
Yes.
Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
I'm also excited about this item.
I know, I can tell.
Sorry. It's been somewhat of a long time coming, waiting for the paperwork to come through. But we did finally receive the addendum to our MEDC professional services grant that we have with the state. This will allow us to be able to use the funding that we've received for our Place Plans Plaza project to also be used for building acquisition. And this evening, we're asking the city council to approve that.
Sure, I'll do it. I'll make the motion to approve the grant addendum 1 to the, grant addendum 1 to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation Professional Services Grant with the City of Cadillac as presented.
I love all this wonderful stuff moving forward. It's just really, it's a good time.
It is.
All right, I'll support it.
Big step. Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Wolfile,
Yes.
Keith,
Yes.
Shippers,
Yes.
Spolman, Mayor Folkins.
Yes. Motion carries.
Okay. Mayor and members of the city council, I don't think I'm skipping.
You're not.
Okay.
It's another big one.
Yes, it's another big one. And certainly, Mike, chime in if I am amiss with anything here. But this next item is with respect to the Potvin Industrial Park. I am very, very pleased to announce that there is an interested party in acquiring approximately 21 acres of property within the Potvin Industrial Park. The materials that I have now indicate in Exhibit A. Sandy, I think Exhibit A was handed out, correct? Okay. In the map somewhere, yes. The location of the property is highlighted in red. It is approximately just across the street from Piranha Hose Products that are currently located in the park, as well as Spencer Plastics. The name of the company that is looking at acquiring this property has not yet been disclosed. There is a real estate development firm out of Pittsburgh that has been working with myself and other members of the city in trying to look at sites within Cadillac and actually outside of Cadillac for siting. This is where they'd like to go. It's for the future use of a 150,000 square foot distribution facility, which is a nice size. It's not absolutely enormous, but it's certainly a nice size for our park. The materials presented in front of you include a letter of intent. That letter of intent sets out a variety of terms and conditions regarding the sale of the property. It also sets up essentially what will become the framework for the actual sale agreement that'll come down the road. The letter of intent stipulates essentially a 6-month due diligence period that this company would have, or their developer would have in doing the environmental analysis for the site and verifying that everything works or can work okay for their use. Certainly if something comes back, the deal could potentially be off, but this definitely gets us down the path that we would like to be heading. The resolution before you this evening would accept the letter of terms. It'll also start the process to approve the sale agreement. It'll authorize the sale of the real property. We'll be setting up a public hearing on a special meeting date of February 29th, which is the last day of the month, also a Monday, to have the public hearing on the ordinances. By charter and by law, we are required to sell the public property by ordinance. So we're looking at setting that special date. What else should I be adding here?
That's it.
Does the agreement with the firm, is that part of this resolution as well, Mike? I think it might be. Agreement with Fisher?
Yes, the letter of intent.
Yeah, the letter of intent and then their commission agreement. I thought that may have been part of it. I just want to make sure that you guys are aware of everything that we're agreeing to moving forward tonight before we have discussion.
Letter of terms, approve the sale agreement and to authorize the sale of real property.
I'm not sure, it may have been inadvertently left out, the commission agreement. There's, in case it's not in this packet, I'm looking to see if it is or isn't. I know it was discussed.
It's not in there.
Yeah, I don't see it. Oh, and I'm gonna need to forward this to you and ask you to print it out, okay? It's not the letter of terms, it's the other document.
This is pretty cool.
What's that?
Just
whole idea.
Oh, sure, yes, I'm sorry for...
yeah, I know you're focused on something.
Yeah,
I'm not talking to you, so.
Give me 1 second here. I just need to send something to Owen and he can print this out. It's the agreement with the Pittsburgh-based real estate developments firm. And of
This is weird.
course...
Why is it doing that?
Well, I think it's incredibly encouraging that they chose Cadillac. So
Yeah.
it's exciting.
Yes, it is. It's good to see new business come into the area. into the city.
Yes, no, it's very exciting. We don't have specifics at this point on the number of jobs that it's going to create, but we're certainly excited to see the new activity occurring in the park. The industrial park has been built and has been opened essentially for about 13 years. And there has been some wonderful new developments there through the spec building that the Cadillac Industrial Fund had put there. That is now the home to Spencer Plastics, which is actually going through their own project right now where they're doubling their size, which is fantastic. You've also seen Piranha Hose, that used to be in that spec building, go and acquire property and build their own facility that they've also added to within recent history. So it's really nice to see, the expansion of the businesses that are there currently.
And this particular piece of property that they've chosen, it already has the infrastructure there, correct?
Correct. It's part of the phase one of the Podford Industrial Park, which has been built out.
Those two.
So
Yeah.
the road is in, utilities are in, and that's another thing as well. There's been, kudos, or there should be kudos, if you will, given to the city from years ago when they had the foresight to spend, the time and energy and resources in building this facility because, if you will, today it's going to be paying off. It's done what it's supposed to do. It's attracted a new user to move in, whether this new user is coming from out of state or coming from in-state, whether it's an expansion of a current operation or not. It's certainly going to be a fantastic new addition to the park and essentially put those parcels to the use that it's been identified for. So we're excited. The one document, and I apologize that you didn't have in front of you, was a copy of the commission agreement, a standard commission agreement of 3% to Fisher and Company, which is the real estate development firm. That would come off the top of the sale. So. And I just wanted to make sure that you had all of the paperwork this evening as you're going through your approval processes. So if you are comfortable in moving forward, you could move forward with the motion as stated in your packets, and then also add to that approval of the commission agreement with Fisher and Company. And like I said, you'll have that copy as well tonight, as soon as it's printed off. So, yep.
So help me understand the Fisher and Company.
I think they're like the realtor.
They're like a broker?
Yeah.
So might need a copy of that.
Send them back down. As soon as I can get it separated here.
Yeah. Oh, there's more than that. Oh, for guys. Wait,
Which one?
I got it.
This is for Mike down at the end.
Oh, I think Mike did. This is for Mike.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. Cool. Yeah, real estate broker. And this is an agreement for the commission to the real estate company, to the broker.
But my question is, are we the only ones paying the commission, or are the people who are wanting to come
These are two separate.
paying 3% as well?
Right.
Sorry, Mike is giving me consult here on the resolution.
Where's this Fisher from? Not that it matters, but
They're from out in
Yeah, I think he's in Philadelphia.
yeah.
But they're licensed here.
It's encouraging if that's such a big piece of property, because it's actually a 150,000 square foot building. You know, it almost looks like they're going big enough. They
Plan to expand it.
Which is nice. That's a good chunk of property out there compared to what's surrounding it.
So the city attorney pointed out that there was a question regarding point 3 of the commission agreement that the real estate expert that we're using had raised. That's still outstanding. So while points 1 and 2 are good, point 3 is still open, which we can move forward with at our next meeting. So they don't.
So we're not going to pass?
No, you don't feel comfortable moving that forward then tonight, right?
Well, I would be comfortable with the terms, that is the commission of 3% and the timing of the payment. But if you were going to move forward approving this or authorizing the city to execute this document, I would say subject to final review and approval by the city attorney's office.
I have a question on number 1. Are we paying all of the commission, or is the other side paying
That's
commission as
just
well?
our side.
That's our side?
Yep.
Okay.
Because we're the seller.
Yep.
So, number 3, I'm trying to wrap my head around the,
I actually like the city attorney's suggestion, which is approve it essentially as amended, and if they don't accept it, then that kind of combines their commission with it.
Can you repeat again what the issue with number 3 is? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the issue with number 3 is the future payment of commissions if there's an assignment, a sale, or other transfer on the property for which commissions are payable. But we don't think it's sufficiently defined under what circumstances the city might be liable for these commissions under this arrangement.
Right,
So-
okay, I would agree.
Yeah, I know that there was some discussion with one of the real estate lawyers in my office about number 3, but for some reason, that didn't seem to be an issue going forward. So as far as I knew, as far as I know, all of the discussion then had to do with the approval, the letter of terms, and the packet of documents you have before you. I don't think that there was resolution on this number 3. If there was, we'll sort that out, and you can certainly approve that contingent upon our final review and approval of that to make sure that it's worded properly.
Okay.
The essential terms of that, however, are a 3% commission on the sale.
Could it be authorized for your office to review that and then have the city clerk and mayor sign accordingly?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
Right.
Yeah.
So that way it doesn't necessarily.
back.
Yeah, create a time issue, so.
Yep,
Like I
I'm
said,
okay with that if you guys are.
The essential term is the 3%, so.
okay.
So how would
So,
we move that?
I'm thinking, it does this, a motion to adopt the resolution to introduce ordinance to approve letter of terms, approve sale agreement, and authorize sale of real property pending review by the city attorney, and to set a public hearing for February 29th, 2016.
Yeah, so that,
Specific to the assignment, sale of property.
let's deal with the standard commission agreement first.
Okay.
Because that, you can pass a motion to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute this agreement after final review and approval of the city attorney.
I'll make that motion.
That's a separate motion, right?
That's correct.
Separate. So I withdraw, I was just asking if that was clarified. So that was not, what I said before, that was not the motion.
Okay.
I made I withdraw if it appeared that I made one, the prior one, and instead what he said,
Okay, well, I'll second what you
just
said.
based on the agreement.
You guys are clear on, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead, somebody.
Okay, Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Keith?
Yes.
Shippers?
Yes.
Spelman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Mayor Folkins?
Yes, motion carries.
Okay, so what that motion did is it authorized the commission, okay? That commission's not gonna be operable if the city doesn't also consummate the sale of the property. That's the second packet of document, the resolution. So this resolution then will deal with the approval of the letter of terms, sale agreement, and authorize the sale of real property.
exactly what
It
it
also sets the public hearing then for the ordinance that's required by city charter in order to sell the property.
Okay, so that was the one that TI started.
This one.
But that's the one that's there now.
Right now, I'll go ahead and do this one. I'll make the motion to adopt the resolution to introduce ordinance to approve the letter of terms, approve the sale agreement, and authorize sale of real property, and set a public hearing for February 29, 2016 at 6 p.m.
Support.
Nicely done.
We good?
Yeah, the only question that I had for city council was whether you wanted to change the time. We kept the time, our normal starting time. You can make it whatever you want.
I would think it would be okay to leave it at 6 p.m.
Yeah,
6 p.m. I think is fine.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Shippers?
Yes.
Spelman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Mayor Folkins?
Yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. As this further develops, you'll certainly be hearing a lot more about it, as will I, so.
Looking forward to hearing
It's
more
the ball
about it.
going. What's that?
I'm looking forward to hearing more
That's
about
going
it.
to be
Yeah.
a...
It's nice to see him so excited. Wow,
Yes.
for sure.
Is, do we skip, we didn't skip anything, did we?
Okay.
Okay.
Next, we have
Okay,
the adoption of ordinances and resolutions.
yes. This evening, we do have one before you. This was mentioned by Councilmember Spelman at the last meeting. This was going to be coming forward. This is a document that council may be familiar with. It is the resolution that confirms and reestablishes statutory lake improvement board for Lake Mitchell pursuant to Public Act 451. This was before the city council previously. However, Michael Solomon, who's also our county drain commissioner and here this evening, had advised a few weeks ago that there was the need to amend it to allow for the ability of the back lots from the lakefront lots to also be a part of the assessment. And that is the change that has been made from the version that was previously approved just a few months ago to this version. Did I state that correctly, Mike?
That is correct, and I guess one point of
Mike, if you could just go to the mic for the...
One point of clarification is the back lots have always been included in the assessment since this started back in the late 1980s. So it's just, it was an inadvertent omission when they prepared the resolution, and this tidies it up.
Need a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution, amending the joint resolution confirming and reestablishing a statutory lake improvement board for Lake Mitchell pursuant to Public Act 451 of 1994 as amended.
Support.
Sandy, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Spelman? Wolfile?
Yes.
Keith?
Yes.
Shippers?
Yes.
Mayor Folkins?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have many minutes of different boards and commissions that we can review on our own. And that takes us to public comment.
I'd just like to take a minute to thank the city. You know, they've appointed Sherry Spolman, and she's been on the representative of the city on the Lake Mitchell Improvement Board, I believe, for 4 years. And she does an outstanding job. She's been a very active participant in some of the lessons learned at City Council. She has been able to transfer to the board and improve our way of doing action. So I really appreciate her continued appointment.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, seeing no one else, we'll close public comment and move to good of the order. Does anyone have anything that they would like to share this evening?
I just had one comment. I wanted to mention, last week I was in Lansing with the Michigan Municipal League Board of Trustees, focusing a lot about the Flint water crisis. There's going to be somewhat of an ad hoc committee put together by the league, composed of water experts from across the state to help put together some good information, good public information on what's going on in Flint and how to bring it down to somewhat of a local level, because there will inevitably, as time goes on and questions continue to be answered or unanswered satisfactorily, there'll be questions asked here as well. And so I'm looking forward to having that additional information in our pocket.
Okay, good.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I'll go next. First, I'd like to congratulate Owen and his staff for a very impressive audit. Things are right on track, as always, and just very nice job. Congratulations. And then I'd like to comment, Councilman Keith and myself today were given our city tour as new council members. And even though I worked here for 25 years, ending 2 years ago, and kind of knew my way around, it was really enjoyable to take the tour. We went through the police and fire department, utilities and public works and administration. It was nice to see some familiar faces, but I've got to say, I was very, very impressed. The fire personnel kind of caught me up on what they're doing down there new, and some new technology. The police department's doing some new stuff that's with their community partnership that's really impressive. The guys at Public Works and at Utilities, really impressive stuff. And actually, some of that stuff, even though I worked here for 25 years, I never really saw in depth. And I've got to say, I'm really proud of the infrastructure we have. And I've got to say that from what I saw today, our staff here that the city employs is top notch, very impressive. And so thank you for the great tour. It was organized by City Manager Pecha, and you have a class operation. It was a pleasure to go see it, and proud to be part of it here as a council member, so thank you.
And I would second everything he said. Of course, I was the new guy, and I really didn't know hardly anything. I do know how the police department looks and should look, and it does look like it should look. But to add to that, one more thing.
Sounded like Dr. Seuss there for a second.
I know. For those of us who are dog lovers, I would like to thank Ken Payne and his folks who plow that the White Pine Trail down along the city. I walk it every single day, and a lot of other people do. I think it's great. I just think it's great because we can walk those dogs where it's not dangerous. And they're really, really pleased to do it. In fact, I didn't know at the time that I ran into him on the trail. I didn't know Ken and what he did exactly. And he stopped and talked to me and my wife for a couple of minutes and explained the whole thing that they were doing. And I think it's just wonderful. Then I met him again today, which was just great.
Good.
So there you go.
All I have to say is that all this moving forward stuff, kudos to the CWTA. That's such great news. And Owen, of course, and it just, things are moving forward and city's growing, doing well, and I'm happy.
And we're smiling.
And we're smiling.
Smiling.
And I would echo all of that. I think the new business coming to Cadillac, the opportunity that we have to develop something really wonderful east of town, and what we're doing in our city park, it's all happening right now. And I appreciate, as Matt has said about the city staff. I appreciate all of the hard efforts that go on behind those closed doors to make it all come together and happen. So, and I, along with TI, really, and I'm sure the two of you will feel the same way eventually, but the excitement that's in this room when we come together to do business is good. So thank you. And with that, I'm going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.